to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about New Year's history and superstitions. Then a story about the Kansas Museum of History and their new exhibit featuring John Meyer. Next, learn about Skip Yowell and the history of JanSport products. We'll hear a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at Earl Sutherland. Stay with us. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Well, hello and Happy New Year. I'm Frank, and this is Around Kansas. Around Kansas, of course, is the show that brings you stories about people, places, and things that make Kansas a great place to work, live, visit, and play. So anyway, guys, here we are. We're already into the new year. Hope you had a safe and sane New Year's Eve celebration. There all kinds of things usually happen on the new year. And here we are already in 2018. Now, for me, that's something because obviously I'm a little older probably than a lot of you viewing. And I know when I was a kid, I looked at even the year 2000 and went, wow, that's a long way away. And now it's a long way back there. So we're 18 years into the new millennium. Anyway, I saw an interesting story for New Year's Eve. I mean, it's too late to do it now, but it was a private air charter that was offering party time twice on New Year's Eve. They were going to start in Sydney, Australia, and fly to Honolulu, Hawaii. That way, after you cross the timeline, you could celebrate the new year twice. Now, the flight is also 21 hours, so there would be plenty of partying all along the way. So I don't know. I have to look up and see how that went and how many people actually went on it. I have no idea what the fare was, but I would think 21 hours in the air and partying for 21 hours, it was probably pretty expensive. But anyway, what a way to start the new year. Kind of innovative there. Get to celebrate it twice. So anyway, in the new year, we're going to have lots and lots of brand new stories about the people, places, and things around this great state of Kansas. It's also an election year, so that's going to make things a little bit interesting as well. And the legislature, of course, will be meeting here very shortly, and we'll update you with some interesting stories maybe from under the dome. Well, we do have a couple of interesting Kansans to tell you about today. One had to do with the Nuremberg trials after World War II. He actually built the model of the courtroom. That's an interesting story. And another about a very famous physician. Well, anyway, stay tuned. Great story.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting and it didn't get better. And so I went to an orthopedic surgeon and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. He said, well, I have to do surgery. I farm and ranch by myself. It's not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we feature my renowned artwork, frontier military, and Native American artifacts. In the painting behind me is Scouting the Trail. Two scouts overlook the Smoky Hill River Valley just north of the famous Monument Rocks, which are internationally renowned, as a column of 7th Cavalry parade north of the river. On this point, two scouts rode in a circle, and there were 18 cartridges found up there, and that meant that they usually were warning of impending danger and firing off their weapons. One of those weapons I feature in the gallery, a Spencer weapon, which we featured in the painting. Very unique and very honored to showcase this to you.
I'm Sarah, and this is my husband, Travis.
We both grew up working on family ranches, me in Northern California and Travis in Kansas. We met in college, got married, and took corporate jobs in the beef industry. But soon we realized we missed the production side of the industry.
So we made the daring move to start our own cattle business in southeast Kansas, while also starting our family.
Watch our story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
Howdy folks, it's time to saddle up for a brand new television series called Cowboy Up, a celebration of the American cowboy. Our show will feature the very finest in Western musicians and cowboy poets for your enjoyment. We'll explore Western music, meet these performers up close and personal, and enjoy their performance of music and rhyme. This is cowboy poet laureate Ron Wilson inviting you to join me as we cowboy up. Happy trails.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
And so the new year ends. We naturally look back and ask ourselves, what did I accomplish? Rarely as much as we expected, it seems. We look forward and resolve to do better, to be better. Rarely do we achieve that either. The contrast between December and January is as stark as the winter landscape. December is heaped with green, gold, and red. Every corner is full. There is light and feasting. January brings darkness and fasting. The twinkling lights replaced by the reflection of the moon on wind-blown snow. The garland comes down. The ribbon is put away. January is often represented by the image of the Roman god Janus, and even though the month may not really be named for him, he suits our purposes today. The head of a man with two faces, one looking backward, one looking forward. Because he could see into the past with one face, and into the future with the other, he represented time. He presided over beginnings, gates, transitions, duality, doorways, passages, and endings, over the beginning and ending of conflict, and hence war and peace. Janus frequently symbolized change and transitions, such as the progress of past to future, from one condition to another, from one vision to another, and young people's growth to adulthood. His image and meaning fascinate me, for it represents what is most difficult for each of us, living in the moment with an awareness of the past and apprehension of the future. He represents that moment where all is one, where we are now on the cusp of this new year, letting go of the old one. Think on that and have a blessed and happy new year.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. The Kansas State Historical Society has a new exhibit you should be sure to see when you're visiting Topeka. PFC John L. Meyer Jr., My Road to Nuremberg, is on display in the Society's research room. John, a native of Philipsburg, was drafted into the Army in 1943. He saw frontline action in Germany in the Fighting First and was awarded the Purple Heart. He was discharged in 1946. However, before he could return to Kansas, John was selected to perform a most unusual service for the Army. He would build the model of the courtroom for the Nuremberg trials. Following World War II, the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union created an international military tribunal to try those held responsible for the Holocaust and other atrocities. Those trials were held in the Bavarian town of Nuremberg. Meyer, 92, retired from the Kansas Department of Transportation as an urban engineer 38 years ago. Many exhibit items were things he had given his children over the years, and they have in turn donated those to tell his story. John and his wife Marilyn donated items as well. The exhibit closes April 1st, 2018. Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family-owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org. This is a Kansas profile by Ron Wilson, director of the Huck Boyd National Institute for Rural Development at Kansas State University. Have you ever had a mountaintop experience? Today, we'll meet a man from rural Kansas who has had many mountaintop experiences. In the process, he's taken a company to the summit of American business. Skip Yowell is co-founder of JanSport, one of the nation's leading outdoor equipment and apparel manufacturers. Skip grew up in Grainfield, population 321 people. While growing up, Skip spent several summers visiting his aunt, uncle, and cousin Murray in Seattle. Skip loved the outdoors and went hiking with Murray in the mountains. Back in Kansas, Skip attended Wichita State. One day, Skip got a call from Murray, who explained that one of his class projects at the University of Washington was to make something unique out of aluminum. Based on his hiking experience, Murray designed an adjustable aluminum frame for backpacking, one that was lightweight and strong and allowed for individual precision. The design won an award, and Murray decided to market it, but he needed some help. First, he told his girlfriend, who was very skilled in sewing, "Jan, if you marry me, I'll name the company after you." She agreed, and they were wed, and that was the beginning of the company known as JanSport. What about marketing the JanSport backpacks? Murray called upon his old friend and cousin back in Kansas, Skip Yowell. Skip relocated to Seattle to help his cousin. This is the 1960s, and the three self-described hippies went to work. They had no business plan or money, but they did have Murray's innovative design, Jan's sewing skills, and Skip's creative instincts and love of people. They started making packs in the upper floor of Uncle Norm's transmission shop. To save money, Skip slept there on a cot, and Aunt Mabel did the books. On the weekends, they'd go hiking in the mountains for fun and to test their equipment. They refined their products and started selling packs to retailers of outdoor products. One day, Skip got a call from the bookstore buyer for the University of Washington. This bookstore sold the usual campus-related items, but also had a line of outdoor products, including the JanSport backpacks. Since it rains a lot in Seattle, students were buying the backpacks to put their books in to keep their books dry. Plus, it made it easier to carry the books. Skip and Murray improved their design and sent them to the bookstore, and the new backpacks sold like hotcakes. During the 70s, the packs sold in college bookstores across the country. During the 80s, they caught on at high schools. And by the 1990s, backpacks were used at the grade school level. Today, virtually every kid goes back to school with a backpack. Today, JanSport is the world's largest backpack maker and a global leader in outdoor apparel and equipment. Skip wrote a book about the experience titled The Hippie Guide to Climbing the Corporate Ladder and Other Mountains. He retired in 2010. Skip and his wife Winnie bought a home back in Kansas in the unincorporated community of St. Peter with an estimated population of 8 people.
Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton, where Lane University has decorated more than 100 trees with antique and vintage ornaments, transforming the museum with the magic of the season. Open daily through New Year's Day.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil, and the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Kansas is sometimes called Tornado Alley, along with Oklahoma and Texas. And those were the very same states where the great cattle drives happened in the post-Civil War era, when the legend of the cowboy came to life. Imagine being on the trail drives in those days without weather radio, weather radar, and all the modern communications we have. This is a serious poem that I wrote. It's titled Terror on the Trail. It was cloudy and dry that hot day in July as we drove cattle up the trail. We were needing rest in our dogged quest to drive them to the Kansas rail. But in the western skies where we turned our eyes, a cloud bank started to build. Then the clouds turned dark. We saw lightning spark as the black clouds grew and filled. The air was muggy. Hoss's eyes went buggy. The cattle were restless and flighty. As the clouds drew near, the boss made it clear, this storm is gonna be mighty. Then the sky turned green like nothing we'd seen. The air was so still it was eerie. With nary a bicker, we pulled on our slickers, even though we were bone-tired and weary. Rain started to fallin', the cattle were bawlin', and the clouds started whirling around. We heard a distant roar, then the noise seemed to soar till it filled our ears with the sound. To our terrified stare from the devilish air, a black rope dropped from the skies. With a roar like a train, it plowed across the plain, tossing men, dirt, and cattle like flies. "It's a cyclone, boys," the boss yelled through the noise. "Now it's every man for himself." My loyal horse spooked despite my rebuke as I rode him off a side hill shelf. The cattle stampeded and ran unheeded as brave men rode for their lives. Critters ran pell-mell in the face of this hell in a desperate race to survive. Then the roar started fading and the sound started trading some raindrops for the cyclone's roar. The rain came in torrents to the rider's abhorrence, like an ocean tide pounding the shore. Then we saw the rain stop with a few stray raindrops. Of a sudden, the sky was clear blue, but the path of the storm and the death it performed came fully into our view. Dead cattle and a horse along the storm's course gave the killer storm mute testimony. 2 cowhands were dead and 21 head of longhorns plus 1 cow pony. We grieved for our pards, and though it was hard, we buried 'em there on the plain. Then I mounted my steed and resumed the deed of gathering the herd that remained. Now we've made Abilene, but the sights that I've seen will stay in my nightmares without fail. For I saw bodies fly that hellish day in July when a cyclone hit out on the trail. Happy trails.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Earl Sutherland considered his medical research a hobby, but his scientific colleagues took the work a little more seriously. In 1971, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for his pivotal research in how hormones function. Earl was born in Burlingame in 1915 and decided in high school to go into medical research after reading a book about Louis Pasteur. Despite the challenges of the Great Depression, he entered Washburn University in 1933, followed by medical school in St. Louis and a stint as an Army medical officer in World War II. In 1958, while he was serving as professor and director of the Department of Pharmacology at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Sutherland first made the discovery that led to his Nobel Prize. It was at that time that he isolated a previously unknown chemical called cyclic AMP and proved that it functioned in an intermediary role in many hormonal functions. In fact, this chemical was the missing link in a long series of biological control mechanisms. Sutherland showed for the first time that hormones did not send their messages regarding digestive, reproductive, or metabolic functions directly to the target organs, but instead they activated the cyclic AMP, and it was that chemical that told the organs what to do. Scientists throughout the world have called Earle's discovery monumental, and many have built their research on his studies. Earle died in 1974, but his hope for the future lives in his research and in his words. I am optimistic about what the scientists can offer, especially in medicine. I am also in favor of expediting medical care to all who could benefit from it, but some of us must do our work, not on patients who can be helped today or tomorrow, but those who will be helped a decade from now or even a century from now. Thanks to the Kansas State Historical Society for his story.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy.